You tell me when you're ready, Myra.
Sorry, sir, it's
No
my
worries,
apologies.
just tell me when you're ready.
We are ready, as long as Linda can hear us. Wait, where did Linda go? Linda? Hi, Mayor.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
We are live, but Linda's audio seems to be being slow. So I don't know if you wanna wait for that or not.
Who you want?
Shall we start?
Are we trying to communicate with her, or what's, tell me
It's-
what's going on
It
here?
says else is connecting to audio, like the Zoom says she's not connected. So, I don't know what that means.
Can you hear us, Linda? Shake your head.
Oh, she should be good now. Linda?
Yes, hello, everybody.
Hello.
All right, we'll get started now. I don't know what order you wanna do these in, but whatever, Sean, pass on the first.
We go bottom of page 6, I think we'll get started.
Okay?
Yeah.
One changes. Yeah, I was worried about. So we're just going out?
I just had this question about the salary, but,
I'll go for it.
I asked Cody, he wasn't quite sure, but we were wondering on the 110 at the bottom salary, why the decrease by 20,900? I was wondering if it was because moved hiring to a different. Oh,
She's
okay,
got a master spreadsheet on it,
okay.
so I could check.
I was
and let
just
you know if
curious
you'd like.
why you go down that far.
Well, more than likely, it would just be when we have some turnover and you start people in new positions,
Oh, there
it's
you go.
gonna be at a lower rate.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. but-
Okay, okay.
That's what I read before you.
Yeah. Can't tell what you're doing.
Yeah.
Actually, they just have a question here. So then we're going to 7?
Yeah, going to 7, and,
We talked about the CDL.
yeah, the CDL training, that's jumping up, especially for streets, because everybody in the street department have at least 5. So just central training and terminals, we bumped that up. Fuel costs on everybody is gonna go up a little bit, that one's jumped on all of them. The streets department, the next one, material costs, we bumped that 5,000 just because the materials jumping up in pricing. The hot mix plant, I just got that one in this week because we bought asphalt oil and went from 9,600 last year to 23,000 this year. So we usually do
For the same amount?
for the same amount. Yeah, so we thought it might jump like 15,000, we weren't expecting the 23, so we had to jump that up to 50, because we get 2 25-ton deliveries a year. The hot mix plant, it's not in orange because we just got the numbers.
Oh, okay.
So,
But that 35 will be 50.
yes, yeah, we're gonna jump 15 on it. Yeah, I couldn't. Cost of diesel fuel, on that one, we jumped 20,000, because diesel prices are going up, and that's all equipment, we run some trucks and equipment. minus.
Yeah, and then these, prior year capitals, we kinda went through, in other meetings, but you just didn't kinda. So, yeah, it was just
Pass that one.
prior capital that was funded, and then we took it out this time.
So that's streets department, and now we're gonna jump to the water department. Yeah. That would be on page 19.
You ever trying to answer that question about the water? CDE?
So the first one is just, it's up 40,000, that's, engineer. So for data, so that's gonna probably fall with Austin, and
Oh, sure. Page 19, right?
Yep.
So going over, 19, 40,000,
Yeah, just that one.
scope includes SCADA technical services.
I'd like to ask the governing body if they would prefer to see this on the screen, or if they'd like to be able to see Linda. Because I don't have to show this up here.
Just
Take
everybody
me
else.
off. You can
Then you
take
can
me
do
off,
it.
Steph.
You can-
Well, we can.
We all have our books, Linda, so,
Oh.
we have books to look at, so.
See, now I
Okay.
can see
You look great, you sound terrible.
you.
Well, I feel terrible, but I'm better.
Good, thanks for that.
Sorry for the interruption.
Okay, so we're looking at a technical services, professional services for our water treatment and for the, water treatment facilities where we have, essentially work with, an RFP process, to find the best technical services provider for the city of Rollins, because we have a system that needs to be maintained and to be updated as much as we can, with that amount of money and that amount of money. Any questions about
Kinda.
it? Okay.
So, this money is to, improve our SCADA system. Is it to study it? Is it to, what's exactly this money gonna be used for? Physical stuff or what?
That's a really good question. So anytime that we wanna go in and work on our existing SCADA system, really come across problems, where something is not functioning, and it's all incidental. So basically, the $40,000 change, the increase, is that we would be able to make improvements to the system incidentally, or make corrections in the system as we find them. It's really more of a maintenance. It's not a full SCADA design or a SCADA, upgrade, but as we go through, we can make minor upgrades with this. This is,
Mayor, Mayor,
Linda?
I'd like to point out that the SCADA system out at the plant is just old. And that was one of the critical needs, along with everything else became more critical than the SCADA system was. So I don't think they replaced that. So if they haven't replaced the one when we were visiting there last year, the folks that worked there were telling me that it's old and they really would need a new one. So I'd like to throw that out there.
what the costs would be for a new SCADA system, with the operations, but I don't think we have, never had full.
You had a,
The EVDG grant for a SCADA system.
yeah, it was like $850,000, I think was the.
So that was before my time, I wasn't aware, okay.
I would want to pay for a consultant to replace it. Upgrade it. Maybe I'm not understanding the
So,
system
a
at all.
really good example is, so we were trying to get the Thayer Booster Station up and running to get water, from the river up to Peking and Atlantic. And we were having a difficulty with the, system communicating with the cellular devices that we had for transmitters. And just in that case, it would have been helpful to have a consultant come and help our team, help our crews diagnose, that's a professional team that works specifically on SCADA, not just on water operations.
So if we upgraded, that service would still be available to us?
Depending on the
Is it?
SCADA company that we go with, there's only a couple, and we deal with one called Timberline right now. And they're usually help us with all of our SCADA.
So they already provide that service?
Yeah, so right now, Timberline provides, I believe, anywhere between $10,000 and $30,000 worth of, support to the city for SCADA technical services.
Okay.
But, with new, I think it would be an RFP process potentially. Find the best support possible for the city. A little bit of, difficulty here and there working with just one source, and I think it would, the best bang for their buck if we can figure out who would be a good.
One of the reasons too is ours is so old that a lot of Timberline workers, they don't know how the system works. So they have a lot harder time working with the system.
To me, it sounds more
It's
like
more-
that's
it's getting more and more
capital
expensive.
project.
Yeah, and I can confirm, don't see, yeah, it's not on our capital cost for, SCADA replacement.
In the meantime, we'll still need to use, technical services, just day-to-day operations. Lean heavily on SCADA technicians, the water treatment plant, to be able to get the water to town.
And the SCADA system runs the plant as well.
Sounds very solid.
Put your 2 cents in there.
I can tell you a little bit about
I'm sure one person in here knows what it is.
The SCADA system, it controls, when we were at the water plant, the operators there, that's that monitor that was off to the left that shows them, the operating conditions, pressures, the valves and everything, so.
That makes sense.
And that's just the visual part, then you have the actual physical part, which is the devices in the field here. Transmitters, your valves and everything there. SCADA system, total is software, hardware, and then your operators and everything. Low price,
Consulting.
yeah.
We got a lot of money.
So, when you say the system that runs the water plant, roughly how many, there's like, must be sensors and electromechanical type
Right.
valves and such like that. How many individual ones are out there, do you think? I'm just curious.
Do you know the I.O. points, or how many you bring in?
When I think about that, schematic, I think of at least 30, and I know at least 2 of them are down, and have been down for several years.
Yeah, so, and that's just that, just every device is different, so a motor will have, you'll have the voltage on it, the temperature, vibrations, those are each piece that reports back is considered an I.O. device or a part of it. And so then you have your pressure transmitters, your valves, open, closed states. So I bet your system's about 500 points is what they probably look at, and how much data. And then in the SCADA system, they just put it and say, hey, this is what we want on the screen. This is what, they might not see half of them, but they might get alarms that say, hey, I've got an error here, and it throws it on the SCADA system. So it's reporting is the
individual sensors and stuff, like on cars, for instance, are these adjustable, or? I mean, like, for like, when they're out of range, when it hits that magic number, do we set that number, does SCADA set it, is it adjustable, or is it the mechanism of that triggers?
So the devices all have a range, so they'll have like a pressure transmitter, be like 0 to 4,000, and then you go in and program it. Maybe you want a tighter range on the voltage, so you set it down to 0 to 1,600. So you can get like decimals in there, watch that.
So it's adjustable.
Correct, and then you match it on the SCADA system. You can do about anything with it. After I went and reviewed it with these guys, I looked it over. Server location, just being in its spot that it's in, it's probably the worst place for it to be. Just the heat, the fact that it's in, it's high humidity. I think you guys are working on moving it or thinking about moving it somewhere else. The whole system needs an PLC side, which is, the device that, it's like a smart computer that monitors pumps and everything, and then reports that back to the SCADA. That's, I've never seen, because I've been working, showed one of the other guys, and he's like, that's, must be older than us, so. But,
Gerald, would you, I don't know the answer, but do you have any ballpark, like to get, if we were to replace all that whole system, PLC, do you think we would be looking at?
not without knowing all the stuff in the field, there's a lot of things I recommend, probably upgrading the communication to devices, go down the line in the field, and, as far as like automation, seeing maybe a meter at the very end of the line, so you can actually intake, like down here. Our upgrade, we're about 3,000 points, was 250,000, and that just, the SCADA program, that was servers, programming, that people that build it, it touch hardware, it touch wiring, nothing else. PLC runs, the PLC can run roughly $1,000, depending on how much you're bringing to it. So, and I don't know, you guys have the pump station, and then up here, I bet you're looking at it up in 400.
Conversation that we have, we keep talking about all these problems. I would like to see able to get an amount of all this work.
I think that's what part of that
So that we
40,000
can-
is an engineer coming in and telling us what the full system upgrade.
Okay.
But we need to have an engineer come in and tell us, where we're at, how much it's gonna cost us, and I'm pretty sure that's where he's going
Now I
with
do.
40,000. It's gonna cost us some engineering and professionals to tell us what we need.
Then we can sit down and get these funds for this.
So we'll be talking about that here in because a lot of the costs on our water line are in capital here.
Okay.
It's just the SCADA part that is not. I might even put a plug number of 750 to try something in there for now. But we'll be jumping into all those bigger costs, and the way we're gonna pay for those is we've gotta go get a big loan.
So your ultimate goal is to see what we can do.
We gotta find out first, cost, we need
Yeah.
a professional to tell us what it's gonna cost
Okay.
first.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
And just to be able to maintain the existing.
Yeah, technically,
Yeah, because these
whatever.
fall apart. So like the sensors, all
that they do what?
They come in and fix the programming, the
Okay.
computers, and, you know, something's tripping, not working right, they gotta come in.
But they physically come here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
they
they fix the
eventually
programming,
come in and
they get into the computer and fix the programming on what's, and tell us what's tripping, what the problem is.
Can they do some of that remotely? Do they do any of it remotely?
I don't think our system can, I don't know, some of it they do, but some of it they actually have to come and to that server room that Daryl's talking about, it's really old, and actually do it.
Oh, do you guys know how old it is? It looks,
If I remember correctly, it's like,
I think when the plant went in,
how old would it be?
The PLC side of it is, your SCADA system's a little newer, it's, not newer. It's in the early 2000s, I think, the actual server and everything, but that's, I mean, yeah, that's old as heck.
Could I throw this out for conversation? It is really silly. It's really silly in my eyes to fix multi-million dollars worth of pipeline and some treatment filters and all of this stuff and would not fix what we totally need. That includes the SCADA system. Well, I mean, if we're gonna take a hit on the water, let's just fix it totally.
I was just mentioning, and I think we'll just add this to the total, you know, the loan that we're going after, to replace the whole SCADA and all that. That's what we're trying to figure out still. We wanna find the best option for the city, looking at different.
Sorry, that took so long.
The next one is travel and training for water distribution. That one, we rose that 15,000, just because there's CDLs, they have to have CDLs too, and water distribution, they have to have their licenses. So there's a lot of training that's involved with that, and they have to go to seminars and training every single year. They have probably the most that they need to go to. So that one bumped up quite a lot because the water treatment building and grounds. Last year we were at 12,000, just because the building's getting old, so we bumped it to 10,000 for maintenance, so it went up 9,500. Updates come to the building and in better working conditions. The capital down there.
Are we capital?
No, just next page.
Yeah, just next page, we're on 20 now. That's engineer. Or the pre-treatment plant startup, consultant engineering, that's 30,000.
Hear me now. So, the note there says that additional needed startup of pretreatment. Here, and if I'm not mistaken, ends with capital plan. How many thousands, necessary? It is just, actually.
Instruct us on how.
Oh, of course, yeah, for some reason, I remember the spreadsheet was very visual, colors mess with quite a bit. So, yeah, no, the proposed, the budget would be 200,000, with an increase up to 30. And so, we're going through the process of trying to get engineers and operators and project managers to come and help us get our pretreatment plant back up and running, so that when our Sage Creek Springs Basin goes down, we will have that available for us, so we'll have water basically on backup, so that we can treat at the water treatment plant on it, and it would give us substantial flexibility for the city so that we can always supply water to our customers.
Next one would be, travel and training for treatment personnel and CDL training. That went up 5,000. Next one is material costs. Materials have been going up. And so with that starting up pre-treatment plant, we're anticipating a lot of the chemicals that fall between chemicals and materials to get it going, as well as supplies. The chemicals, we went up 235,000, 30,000 on materials, 2,500 on supplies.
I'll speak to that next. Previously, I think historically, we've tried to put a contingent every enterprise fund. That's why you see that 100,000 down there. So the problem that we have with the water fund is when we put that pre-treatment on there, it makes it so we don't have a balanced budget. We're $200,000 over our budget when we put in those extra costs. Can't actually turn the somewhere else, or we raise rates, or we do something new to do.
When you say cut somewhere else, does that mean within
Within
water?
the water.
Okay.
Yeah. This also takes into account that we, you know, all those water loans, those have been taken out of this FY '23, so that's already been factored in.
How much of an increase?
I haven't taken I can easily run some numbers. Every person in the city pays, has a base fee for water that we all pay. So we could very easily add on a few dollars on there and see how much revenue that gives us. So I can run some figures. I don't know what else to do unless we don't wanna run the pre-treatment.
So and when you're looking at raising the rates, you'll look at the base rate and then also the per gallon rate. Various rates.
Per gallon, I kinda wanna leave alone for, make it simple, I just wanna look at the base rate, but I know that's what the committee that we wanted to form would be, to look at all of those rates. But I think to keep it simple, and what, you know, how much would $5 extra a person give the whole, you know, the whole fund?
When was the last time meeting?
And prior to that, 8 years ago, I think it was a long time. If I'm mistaken.
I never liked to increase it. Cost of goods would kill you. And COVID hit us so hard.
At a point where if we want
I think the citizens are not happy about it. Watch the social media, they're aware that.
And I think you see it. We also wanna know where we're spending our money. We're in this budget, so that tight that we have to say that this is the way to go, let's just do it. That's what they wanna know.
Enterprise,
I understand what you're saying.
yeah.
All the same thing, it's your taxpayers' money, that's what they're gonna tell you. That's what the public's gonna, got places that don't have meters that can run water all they want. Fix them first, or we're gonna say we're gonna raise the water rates and then people get $20, add another couple of bucks to it. Those are the kind of things that I look at, so that I can explain to the public when they stop me on the street, say, just raised my water. They don't know anything about enterprise funds, and they don't know about that. they just want, they know how much is coming out of that wallet. What I wanna try to do.
And I think the response to any resident would be, in order for us to have a safety net with their water, we have to start that pre-treatment plant. And we fix that, and that's, I think, a very reasonable thing. And then with how much money we're going after for loans, like if it's $15, have to be able to pay for it. That would be my response if a resident came.
Wouldn't we wanna see how much we're bringing in, problems that we got? Got this amount. Raise your water a little bit. If we do it the other way around and we raise the rates, we're looking for more money.
Well, one thing is, we're always gonna be looking. The grant process will be, that's just the way it is. I mean, I wish we didn't have to send in taxes and then we could decide what to do with our money, but we have to give it to them and then go beg for it, and that's never gonna change in our lifetime. So that part, now, the part about raising the rates, until I know, how much are we talking? I wouldn't have any problem selling a small increase until I know what it is. I don't know if it's a sale.
And I agree with what you're saying. All I'm saying is that if we can show these people, we're going after these, what we received so far to fix these problems.
Sure. I think,
Still short, so we need to ask you for some funds. I think
no, and I think everybody in town, Devari, honestly, has already come to that conclusion. They're gonna end up paying more.
there's that gap in there. We got people that, they don't work at St. Clair Refinery and make $1,000 a year. They don't work for the Union Pacific Railroad. They got the money to buy the water. What about these people that are on a fixed income, don't have that kind of money? We need to take that into consideration.
Well, but I don't think the increase is gonna, I'll wait to see what it is. I just don't think it's gonna be a back.
Yeah, I think it'll be helpful if we together and then bring it back on Tuesday.
We have X number of
Yeah.
people and, I mean, some.
Mayor, it's silly,
And
it's silly to raise something when you don't know what you need. I know what I want, a bottom line need, and then I can work backwards on to see what we would need to do on the raises to the fees. Thank you.
Got the sewer collections, and that's travel and training as well, jumping up 15,000, and that has to do with the CDL training and licensing of the sewer guys, licenses to drive the sewer gas truck.
this has been brought up a couple of days, and I'm way behind schedule, because, I used to have a CDL, and I haven't for years and years. But the CDL training requirements have changed.
Yes.
Tell me what's changed. I realize that it's kind of a burden of time, but I need to know.
So, I mean,
Yeah, so what we found out, on February 7th of this year, the federal government, so to speak, said that anyone who has a CDL or gets a new CDL license has to go through a specific class and training. And that training includes theory and driving and all sorts of things. So we are still in the process of trying to figure out the cost for that. Our current numbers, I'm not sure. So we've heard different things from different people. So we put it up as, I think we did 2,500 per person, because we figured that they may have to go to a class. And currently there aren't any classes here in town that are, registered on that, on the state register. And so we would be sending someone out of town for a 6-week class to be a CDL driver. But we understand at this point.
Do you know what's weird about that is that I can bring the newspapers with me, but the federal government is also making strides to make getting a CDL easier, lowering the bar, and that is, that's actually going through Congress as we speak.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and so like I said, it's really up in flux, but the law did go through in February.
Now, what,
Yeah.
actually, on the law, it's a federal law or a state law?
Federal law.
That's weird, because the federal law was the ones that we were talking about because of the trucker shortage of
I know.
relaxing those.
I know.
Follow the bouncing ball, I guess.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, in the last couple of days, we've been in contact with a school, that does virtual for the theory portion of it. And they were trying to put together, the class would only be like $200 for the theory portion of it through this college. And I'm sure there's other colleges, this is just one we've been talking to. And then we could do in-house driving training, but we have to get that trainer registered. And so there's this process that we're going through. It may be a lot less, we're hoping, we're working on it. But we put it in there because that's what we know right now, if that makes sense. We're hoping it'll be 200 instead of 2,500.
It's kind of like a place like Elevated Training does,
Yeah,
safety stuff, and if you're gonna forklift certification, whatever.
yeah.
My sister-in-law runs Climbway, and they do CDL classes all the time. Information
That would be
on
great.
the state, what they do for a little.
That would be great, that would be great. I'd love to use someone in state if we can do that, for
Yeah.
that theory portion of it, because I know I use someone in state.
Try to keep their costs down too.
Absolutely. But yeah, like,
Well, anyway,
we
thanks
just
for
don't know
answering
yet.
that, I just didn't know, I know in the past you had to, you know, pass a written test and then go, scare the hell out of this guy, and if you didn't scare him too bad, you got your license.
Nobody would get me a license.
Yeah, that was something we discovered actually in the process of doing the CPL training, or the, fire civil service rules and stuff. There's nothing, I brought it up and everything, and so it was kind of surprised us all in the middle of everything. So
Yeah.
we're trying to figure it out.
Interesting. I didn't mean to stop you, sorry.
So the next one down is consultant engineer for a hydraulic slide gate at the wastewater treatment plant. I was just talking with Austin, and we currently have that slide gate in the capital, so what we would like to do is just take that out, that 5,000, and put it in the capital slide gate for the engineering of that slide gate to be installed. So we can, that one out. We'll just put it in with the capital, we'll jump the slide gate on the capital 5,000. Contingency fund, 100,000.
Only, all that's left there is so the sewer fund, we can balance the sewer fund, we can balance that budget how it sits right now, in the positive, about $70,000, so we can, but that's not including any capital. Fortunately, that is not knowing the fund balance is what it's just, but we'll, I think, and if we waited a couple months. What? Now that we're in the budget, budget. What's that?
Is it 8, Lou? We start on 8?
87, I think. 7.
We're starting on our central shopping warehouse. Don't need anything on that one, so that was an easy one.
One
We're
down.
gonna try the rest of them. On page 8 of 24,
building maintenance.
I see on the streets, that yours too, or the CDL training on page 7?
Or street comes under public works.
Yeah, there
We
is.
touched on that one already.
Working on building maintenance.
What page?
Eight.
And, we increased that due to our needs. A lot of times, and we'll get into that when we get into the capital items, numbers there that I'd like to just share with members. On safety, supplies on our maintenance side, we have an increase on that one. Public Works, we've had, files that are, Austin donated his file, stand-up cabinet. We got some furniture in that, and that we need to, so we've actually supplied the recycle center with some, this that we've been trying to recycle what we could.
On these supplies, this is not like paper, pencils and stuff, here,
No, sir, this is,
chairs and desks.
correct.
Okay.
We could have a surplus sale one of these days.
We are planning on it. We've been talking about doing that, and maybe if you that he needs to do it.
Next one we have is, contract legal. Have that one at, 10,000. We have attorneys, Casper, that we've been asked for from our boards. That there's outside help.
These attorneys that help you with those, do they also, help you with the board trainings, or do you have that done by somebody?
We've had, training from Casper, had some from Kathy, because it's multiple.
Kind of wherever, okay.
The travel and training, field training for 2 people, and also, wanted that for the employees as well, to get them out to get hands-on training that equipment, need that item, so we just $dollar amount.
Which page? Thank you.
We're switching.
Next one's gonna be on page 23.
building and training there as well. We bumped up, we're at 4,000 for that one to send guys to some of these seminars. Have, help us there on our end with cycling habits that we have, and up there, that.
Gotta tell you, I went to the recycling center the other day with Dip to drop stuff off, and, I've never seen it better.
And they've worked really hard, and we have there, they're just go-getters, and
Yeah. Brian, and Walmart's back, it was good to see him back, and it looks great. I mean, it really is quite an improvement. So let me restate that, I didn't mean to sound like it was garbage, but, so I thought about how it must have sounded. It's always been really good, and it's something I've admired, it's just a notch better. Myself in trouble with it, but.
it was pretty easy.
Right, let's do, capital.
Very, very bad.
And just one more thing, I mentioned this yesterday, but it's the water that we'll need to figure out, and the recycle is the other one that's in the hole there, so, I need to spend just a little time with Lou and figure out how to, fix it. I think, well, and Stephanie might be able to correct me here, but I believe we have programmed in there that extra recycle position already. Pull it back out, and that will help part of it, and then I pull the contingent, 100,000 out of there too. I think we balance it.
So starting off, for public works, so we'd like to trade in the Explorer that currently drives. What I'd like to do is get money for impact assistance that I'm going for actually new vehicles, so I'd be passing this Explorer to Austin and then trading it off to get a new engineer. So we've got kind of both of them in there. I think that we could actually combine the two.
I'm sorry, what page are we on?
It doesn't have page number.
Well, I guess there is no page number,
25, 26? Go off,
okay,
from the backside.
oh,
At the very bottom.
okay, I found it, thank you.
And then for the public works, what I'd really like to do is get a new flagpole. The one we currently have is right in a tree, and we can't actually put flags on it. It tears the flags up, and the tree's only gonna get bigger, so it's really old, so I would really like to install a flagpole for public. On the other side of the tree, if the window is closed a certain way, but get it to where it's up above the tree.
Well, I would cut the tree down.
We're Tree City, USA.
I knew that was coming.
I like that tree. Let's run over to, turn page, the streets department. Well, we really wanna keep the downtown striping going, so we're trying to put $20,000 a year away for the next few years, keep it going. We're currently trying to put together a project this year. We think that we'd like to try to shoot for $100,000 for a complete downtown striping, crosswalks, parking spots, everything, just for beautification of the means that we are trying to put all of our money in the water, and we're not doing roads this year. Offset the duties. The next one is a steel wheel roller for the paving, patches. The one we were looking at was a lot bigger. The one we have right now is really small, so our patches don't get packed down the way they should. They look really bad when we plow in the wintertime, we tear up plow blades, they look bad. I did a little bit more research, and we actually found one that's a smaller roller, but it's got high harmonics and vibration on it. So it's a smaller roller that does the same job as a big one, and it drastically decreases the cost. You're gonna get that for $55,000 instead of the $80,000. It also dropped the price of the roller trailer from 40 to 30. I kind of cut down some of those numbers. We're really in need of a dump truck. Ours are really, really old. The 17-yard dump truck we're looking at is right around $225,000. It's a double axle, 17-yard dump truck. The street department, we're looking at we'd like to get a new pickup with trade-in. We're looking at $50,000 for that one. We need a new semi-truck with a side dump trailer. Ours are pretty old and runs about half of the time, and that we're looking at about $300,000 for the set with trade-in. Management plan for geotech reports, basically it's going around core drilling all of our streets and telling us which ones are probably gonna fail first, with what's underneath it, so we start planning on what streets to start rebuilding for future. That'd be $50,000. And then I'd really like to start setting aside some money for a new hot mix plant. They run about $2 million. Ours is from '79, I believe. So I'd like to set aside $500,000 a year for the hot mix plant. And, Miller Davis Street Extension, we haven't quite figured out which one. Or you wanna do that? So that was for streets department. Going into utilities, water. That one's the next. Just jump in.
Yeah, let's do the Miller Davis.
Okay, that sounds good. So going back up to streets, item priority number 9, where it calls out, Miller Davis. That would be, $40,000 would be construction of the extension of one of those streets.
When you say one of those streets, I know there was a discussion about this before, but the discussion was to hook that street to the park. So, since one of the streets goes to the park and one of them doesn't, I don't understand why we always have this confusion in two different streets. Off that, middle exit, and they wanna go to the park, or the kids that live in my neighborhood wanna go across the street to the park. We're gonna have that, we should have the street that goes to the park. I'll just say it, but one goes to the park, one don't.
I guess one of it was just
And Mark, please correct me. I believe that there was before my time, I think there was and there was a survey that went out to the residents to say, is it okay if we put the road on this street? And I don't think it was the one that was Park Street. And so I think that's where the confusion is that the residents, they said okay to one street, and then, but what we're really wanting is the other street.
I started out with Davis. Neighbors came to me several years ago and wanted to know why they couldn't extend. Talked about it, then years later, another back, and they said, well, we think Water Street's probably the better one to go. The last time they brought it up, it was like under the service road or something with us to the park. Neighbors wanted, what the neighbors wanted was great shots that they could walk, tie the community together, that area together, and it, or they used to use it. Member of the council two members did that. Audit. And then somebody came back up.
But one of those streets is higher, like the elevation difference between that street and the other one that goes to the park is actually the one that's closer. So, if we're gonna connect that part of town to the park, we need to pick the street that goes to the park. I don't know how else to say it, that's, hook it to a different street is, I mean, I don't know, you don't go to the park.
So, as a transportation engineer, I can help the council through the process of selecting which road that is, together to finding.
That sounds really good, but there's two streets, one goes to the park. That's what we're wanting to do, is have a street go to the park, and one street don't go to the park.
So as a transportation engineer, after evaluating the study, there are actually 4 connections that were evaluated. And I just want to do what's best for the council, what you guys want to go with, and provide you all the information you need to make the right choice.
If you think you can give me some information that will hook that street that's not hooked to the park, I'm all ears. But unless that street hooks to the park, we're not accomplishing the goal. So as far as, you know, saying I'll help the council get what they want, you're not listening. Street needs to hook to the park.
Street needs to hook to the park. Got it.
Right, if it don't go to the park, then there's no reason to do it.
Okay. And I think that it's not necessarily geared towards vehicles. It sounds that it may actually be pedestrians.
It's both. That's why you have sidewalks on the side of the streets. And I'd like the kids in my neighborhood to be able to walk down and use the park.
Absolutely.
And I also think people wanna drive down that street. So it's gonna require sidewalks and streets, and it just needs to go to the park. I mean, to me, this is so simple, I just can't understand how we're,
Information that you know in your background help with.
Yeah, so
That's what we all need to hear.
every access
That's
point.
been my frustration. They wanted to use Davis Street, period. That goes to the park. Neighborhood petitioned it, because the city told them, well, they went out door to door, came down my house with a long list of names, I still have it at the house, that's where it started. As the years went on, different councils, they ended up moving up to Miller, then they ended up moving up to Miller Court, which ties on to the Service Road. I mean, crazy. The purpose of this was set, because we hired a gentleman that came from Casper that gave a seminar to us about tying your community together. That's what it was all about. So, came up with the idea, well, that would help get these people in that area hooked up to closer, where they can walk to the park and get involved in the neighborhood. That's where it started. So, I agree with what the mayor said. The goal is to tie the community together, so if we build it anywhere other than on Davis, we're further away. Further away from the community. Go all the way to the Service Road, we're really taking it away.
Well, absolutely. And so the considerations that I was looking at were volumes of traffic, and each access that's proposed has a different volume, will have a different model of the amount of traffic that will be going through that extension. So it has an impact in terms of the volumes, how it affects each neighborhood. And it's worth looking at least, the model that was provided by Engineering Associates in the past. So I'm not saying that it's something we have to do, but this item here, the $40,000, would be to complete the pleasure of the council, whatever that is.
I want you to know I'll look at all the options, but, you know, if I go downtown to buy a pickup and you're showing me a cantaloupe, I'm not shopping at your store. So, just so you know, the goal is to hook that street to the park. Okay.
All right, so, do we have any further questions on the extension?
Okay.
All right, so moving on, to the largest project, that the city is looking at currently, which would be under the water fund. So, working with Sunrise Engineering and working with, WWC Engineers, we've come up with a series of estimates, these water infrastructure, point where it is sustainable and sustainable. Right now, we cannot even maintain our existing system. If we were to go and exercise any of our valves back on the main transmission line, position where probably lose water to town and back on the tanks, and what that's like, it'd be just a March 3rd. So what we're trying to do is come up with solutions that we can get the water to town reliably. We want to have a reliable system, and to do that, the $15 million estimate that was essentially come up with, and it's still, that estimate's still changing a little bit here, a little bit there, depending on how we apply CDBG funds, what kind of slip grants we're able to get, and things to that degree. But we have, in this project, we have the tank farm. So we have 2 tanks that we're looking at replacing. It would be substantially smaller than the ones that we have right now, approximately half the size. So it's 500,000-gallon tanks. The ductile iron line that we have that goes from the water treatment plant down to the street connection is not cathodically protected. And the soils there are corroding that line. And to get it cathodically protected, you'd have to jumper each pipe. Every 20 feet, you'd have to take that line, install a jumper, and you'd have to do the cathodic protection on top of that. And so what we're considering for that particular ductile iron line is just to install a new line in parallel. That particular line, if I'm not mistaken, based off the water study in 2012, we're losing almost 400,000 gallons, $400,000 worth of treated water that has come from the water treatment plant. And we're losing that water to the ground, and it's not being used by the public. So that would be one of the aspects of the project. One of the parts would be to another line parallel with the existing transmission line that's ductile iron from the water treatment plant down to Spruce Street. Up above, you would transmission line itself, the 20-inch and 22-inch line that has a cement line that comes down from the Sage Creek Basin, more than 28 miles of line, and it goes from the it goes up from the water treatment plant up to the Sage Creek Basin. That pipeline has been attacked and corroded without the cathodic protection. And so, working with the Department of Public Works, Utility Department, we were able to secure some of that material, some of those pipes. If you ever want to see an exhibit of what a deteriorated pipe looks like, one that has been part of this huge water crisis, down at the sewer shop. So if you ever want to see what it looks like, what we're trying to fix, we've got a section of it down at the sewer shop. And you can take a look and see the valve that's there as well. We've set that aside for your pleasure. The transmission line estimate for the quick protection, the blow-off valves, and the air release valves, that work has been done. Those estimates have been completed. Those preliminary engineering estimates were completed both by WWC and by Sunrise. I have a breakdown of all these costs. I don't have them here with me at the presentation at the moment. I don't have a computer connected. Pleasure, I can do that at Sean's discretion. And then up and above, even higher, as you go further to the south, you have the Sage Creek Basin springs themselves. Those springs have the first phase project that we did as an emergency starting back in November. That particular line we're replacing with PVC. Old wood stave pipeline, 10,000 feet of it, we're replacing with plastic. And we're hoping to get that completed by mid-June. That's not included in this, dollar project, but still have wood staves up there. A substantial amount of wood stave pipeline that is up there, that is over 100 years old. And with that, we have the replacement of the transmission lines in the basin. We also have the vaults, the boxes, the Sage Creek boxes, the actual collection vaults where the water comes in. Those are deteriorated concrete vaults. We need to replace those. Those can be gas structures. They're about the size of a couple of rows of these, desks put together. And those all need to be replaced. The concrete is old. And then you also have the collection lines that connect to those that go into the ground, where we, bring water from. That's where it comes from, comes in a box, gets collected, sent down the line through the transmission line. We want to replace all of that. And so, all in all, with all the different, projects I just mentioned, project that's over $15 million, that we're looking at, trying to find funding for, that we're looking to do it right. We can also add the SCADA system to that as well, for the $850,000. That CDBG grant was likely written with an engineer's estimate. We could probably use that towards this, build ourselves a project so we can get just a rudimentary system. We need to have a reliable system for the city. So in addition to all of this, we can break it down. We can use in segments. Generally speaking, engineering designs are about 10% of the total project cost. So that's why you see in the capital item, $1.5 million is because it's a $15 million project. And so we would like to go into the design phase of this larger project starting fiscal year.
One of the things got us to the problem that we got is that for years and years, and I've been on this council a long time, each council's different. Start a project, we patch it up, everything's working fine. We don't do anything again for a while, then later on we have a problem and they come back and they say, look, we got this fixed, but now we gotta fix this piece. On and going, and eventually it caught up with us. I really feel that way. Done a lot of work. So I was involved when they started the treatment plant. They would come to us, they say, we need new filters. So we'd buy them new filters. This valve, we'd buy them that valve, and this on and on and on. They're doing a large segment of the problem. To have this, and you did some of it, we stay on top of it. Back off, because the next council might come and say, council, we would feel real proud to go around the neighborhood and say, look, we fixed this. That's where we're gonna be able to do these grants coming in, pay off and a little bit what we have to come up.
The other part that I did not explain in this capital plan is the $175,000 line item, that goes from 24 all the way to 33. So that would be for debt service alone. Still going through that process. It's, I would say it's in its draft phase still, correct, Sean?
Back to the split today. Originally went to them before and they said, not an emergency. They said it again today, so we didn't get anything from the slip.
And I know
Which
how
is
tough it
very,
is. I've
very
been before.
frustrating.
I've been before them too, and they gave me the same answer they gave the mayor this year, they gave me 10 years ago. You guys need to do more for yourselves before we can give you any money. Well, we've done a lot. we've invested a lot.
They were very specific. They will, I bet we should never go back unless we raise an emergency, if that's what. My question for you, since we went to them with a, and we had a few different things, but we still have what would have been a direct match. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, it does. I think I understand. So out of the $1.5 million, is that correct? Right. Yeah, so the 1.3 mil, or 1.57 million that we talked about at SLIP today, is kind of what you're thinking about?
Mm-hmm.
The request that we made to SLIP was for a match,
In our matching portion.
approximately, 2.1 million, I believe. Or 2.1 or 2.3. And so we do have not CDBG, have the back assistance funds from Choke Cherry, which we did, a number of about 1.2 million.
Could we just asking it for out of,
Potentially do that.
okay, that's my,
This
we're
is,
waiting for, since we don't have a balance answer, to use this.
there's something I just noticed in that last night we talked about if we paid off, well, a lot of our indebtedness, and I don't have that piece. But anyway, if you add up all those payments, it's very similar to the payment we would water.
That's my question.
Well, but if you add up all those, like that first column, where it's the yearly payment, the very first column, if you add all of those up, and I just did it in my head, and it came up to about $500,000. So it's very similar to, if we would pay those off, then that same amount that we're paying out, what we'd be paying out on water, just so.
That's what we want to be able to do.
Like, we wouldn't have more payments, we would just have
The same
a
amount.
different payment.
Swapping it out, and then we could look at doing less. We want to do as minimal increases as possible to our rent.
Right.
That's the whole thing that will have, but.
Okay, so does that answer everybody's questions?
You guys are like,
Does that answer everybody's questions with regards to, priority one, water? Okay. And the next item would be the city water model. Priority two, and it includes the Glen Edition. So with that, right now, the city's water model is adequate. We need to be able to determine where a developer or work can be done in town. We can plan accordingly, so we know what pipes we can and can't abandon, so to speak. I don't know if you recall that whole discussion about, yes, exactly. Yeah, we don't have a complete picture to give a good answer, but if we were to go and get this water model complete, we would be able to give answers on the fly.
where are you?
Water,
Number
Yeah, priority
city
two.
water model, clean water.
The reason I thought that first discussion involved a lot of these, but,
I do apologize, yeah, there's a lot here. Okay, so does anybody have questions about the water model?
I don't think any of our water or sewer or any of that's up to date, because when I bought a piece of property on the south side, well, it's where that Elk Mountain Towing, Elk Mountain areas, and when I bought it really cheap, because there was no water or sewer close to that property. And, that shut off over there, there's your water, so there was water and sewer to that property, didn't show it on the map. So, I don't know about water only, but there's a lot of our utilities, we don't have mapped correctly, so we need to address that at the same time.
You own that property.
Everything I've ever bought, I paid too much for, and everything I ever sold, I sold too cheap, that's what it is.
So this $50,000 would be just for the water distribution.
Wouldn't it be prudent, because it's the same equipment, same area, same old, isn't it? To go map these things, wouldn't we be ahead to have them map water, sewer, whatever else?
So currently, the staff are updating lines as they find them for sewer, and putting them into GIS. Updating our GIS that we have, in the city of Collins. And this is more, the water line is more along the lines of an engineering study, in a way. So we know the flows of each pipe, so that we know the volumes, pressures.
But I just know that if these maps aren't made or not, you might have made some improvements since the last time I paid attention. I bought and sold several pieces of property, and that information sometimes not there.
Been a lot of work on GIS. We have, and it's trying to track, attempting to track everything and.
Stormwater, sewer, and water lines. Next line item, moving forward, is the MXU replacements, basically water meters. Want to just keep setting aside $100,000 a year for new water meters, for tracking our water a lot better, replacing old, installing new, and, as the years go on, we
How much does a water meter?
couple hundred.
If you blow one up, hydraulic in it,
On our new,
they're $200.
and the new pearls are getting more and more expensive. That's, we're trying to get to a nicer one, something you can read from the vehicle instead of having to go up to the house.
Just on that's part of that water model also would help with the Glen efficiency. So that would be step one, trying to understand and fund the fix.
Meter in every space. Next one is, service line locating equipment. All of our water line locating equipment is tremendous, at least 10 years old. And usually we're off by about 4 to 5 feet every time we update those. Leak detection, it's kind of an ultrasound, equipment that you can find leaks a lot faster. A lot of times when we have breaks in the wintertime, we chase it down the street because the frost won't let it come up in the spot it wants to. A lot bigger hole and costing the city a lot more money.
How does it work?
Basically, it's an ultrasound. It's small piece of equipment that shoots, under the ground, and it can sense where the water is out of the pipe, and get an accurate location.
There's other kinds that go down the pipe, and
Yeah,
some of that stuff don't work so good.
those ones get pretty expensive, and so we're just looking at, something that's a little bit better than just digging until we find it. Next one is a portable cement mixer, mixed trailer. Basically, it's a small trailer that looks like a cement truck. We can fill it with concrete, and we can actually go do our sidewalk repairs when we dig out sidewalks, do it in-house. We spend probably at least $50,000 last year hiring it out to contractors. We would have paid for a trailer last year if we would have just, and we have the crews to be able. Very simple, it's just flat work, we're doing all squares of sidewalks, just replacing. I can move forward and just start it. This is a new service truck. It's basically what we're looking at is a 1-ton truck with 4 doors on it, so you can fit more crew in it, and it's got a utility box rack. Instead of having multiple trucks show up and having to haul all that gear around in multiple trucks and multiple people, we like to downsize it. This truck can actually haul a trailer with our small excavator. It can have all the parts, all the tools, everything we need in it to show up to a break. Not taking so many trucks. I cut that back a little bit. And then, the next one is just rolling over our pickups in, utilities department. We trying to get a new pickup every 2 years. One of our utilities trucks is, the motor's blown in it, it's sitting down, we're having recycling, and pretty much another truck that's on its way out too. We wanna just try to keep the turnover rate 1 truck a year and just try to get the old ones out, keep new.
How many trucks are in your water fleet?
We have 4 right now that are working. So one of them is about to die, so I went down to 3. At 5, one of them is. Okay, moving down to water treatment plant. Leaves, filter leaves. So we wanna keep getting new leaf systems in for all 4. We wanna get at least new leaves in all 4 units. And then what we'll do is we'll drop back and start saving money up, so when, by the time we hit, say, 2030, we have enough money to start replacing the leaves again. So we wanna give it start replacing leaves every 5 years and just start that process every 5 years. Want to keep that moving forward. Next one is a new compressor, and this is the air compressor that runs all the pneumatic valves and everything inside the plant. Part of what the SCADA system was talking about, some of these valves are pneumatic, and the compressor runs everything. Next one is a service truck out there, where we have trucks out there. One is on its last leg. Oh, and with us wanting to keep an eye on the pipeline more often, we need to. So you wanna get a good turnover rate on those things. SCADA maintenance, $6,000 in there for that. New security gate for the water treatment plant. The gate out there is on its last leg. It opens up very slowly. We had somebody run into it last year. So it's not in really good shape right now, and we just wanna keep the security on our water plant. Moving down to, these are projects. So these are water distribution projects we have in town.
So these are projects here on the bottom quarter of the sheet. Talks about, in alley between Water and Bell Road from Monroe to Washington. Alley between Water and Center from Madison to Washington. 2 smaller projects would be for, a contractor to come and perform. Projects, where it would have to go out to bid.
So moving to sewer. We have the manhole replacement program that we had going. So we're trying to set aside $200,000 a year for the manhole program. Try to replace a certain amount every year, and that all depends on pricing of manholes, as the prices go up on them. But we'd still like to keep the program moving forward.
Is that because the cement around them breaks?
Yeah, they start corroding, they start getting old, the lids are, coming off, not great shape. The manholes on Walnut, when we pulled it up, we still cobblestone. Certain ones, we just need to program and replace it for the benefit of the city. Moving down to the sewer plant. So we really need to look at getting a skid steer for it. We currently do not have one out there, and it gets, the skid steers they go inside the plant, get rid of the grit that they pull out of, the nasty stuff that they pull out. We need a skid steer. We did have one, it got flooded in the plant, and we just haven't been able to replace it.
There's no numbers here.
It's down on the sewer wastewater plant, number 1, 45,000.
Down about
For the wastewater plant.
Well, wastewater plant, it has skid, steer loader, but there's no numbers.
45,000.
45,000.
And yeah, it's the next one down. The sewer department does need one too.
Yeah, but when you get old.
But we're pushing that one out, till 2031. We're gonna push that one out, get a new one there. So the next one down would be this next coming fiscal year, 5,000 we priced out. Bar screens. So what this is our heel assist out there that take all the heavy stuff out of the sewer, like your clothing, gloves, all kinds of stuff that end up in there. They don't really work too well. They keep clogging up and binding up and breaking. And so what they wanna put out there is basically their bar screens. Everything that the water flows through it, anything a certain size gets caught in the screens, and the screens have a hydraulic, and it just dumps it onto a platform, they scoop it up, it's easier. Not to deal with this corkscrew thing that keeps getting caught up stuff with it, taking it all apart. It's just workability, they work a lot better. We're looking at a service truck out there too, they've got, I think, one service truck that the people use going out to the sewer plant that they share, and we wanna update that truck. Forward with that. Aeration compressor, that's for our pond out there, we need a new compressor to keep the aeration going out there, to keep our bugs working good for our sewer pond. State of maintenance for the wastewater treatment plant, we're looking at 5,000 and just keeping it going. It's about a yearly cost for maintenance on our SCADA program out there. Pond slide gates, it's basically the hydraulic slide gate on the return line. Right now, they just have a big plug in it, and we wanna be able to put an actual hydraulic slide gate that we can actually, don't have to get in there and take the plug in and out manually. So we can control it from above ground, make it a lot easier for the people. That goes back to the other, where the engineering back in the budget, we're just gonna put that in with the capital item if we could, so we probably, that would go up to $750. Yeah, 37,500. Aeration maintenance, just having the aeration team go out there and maintain all the aeration pumps that we can, about 5,000, they're going up. And then this is, the next one is a return line to the slide gate. I guess the line is in very poor condition. That has the plug in it, so when we go to put that slide gate, hydraulic slide gate in, we want to replace the whole. While we're in there, let's get it done, and then we want to do new fencing around right now, we really have no fencing out there in the gate.
Do that last year, and we skipped out on it.
Yeah, I think so. And that would be it for the sewer wastewater plant. The next one would be sewer collection, projects.
Yeah, okay, so we have south of Ritter, our Kendrick to Murray, sewer line on 10th Street, from Pine to Buffalo, from 10th to 9th, sewer line, between Davis Miller from Washington to Monroe, sewer line between Railroad and water from Jefferson. Projects would all be construction projects with contractors, all go out to bid.
When you're doing those sewer lines, what else is under there that might be a problem?
You raise an excellent point. So we have identified some of the projects, not all of them. There is an overlap of sewer for the project with Edinburgh Street. Our engineer's estimate came back, I started here, it went from $4 million to dollars for Edinburgh. So, this, I believe, would help to supplement that any fund item. Inflation is, that's just for the one project. The rest of these are standalone projects.
How would we tear up the street to, and then like Edinburgh, where
Would do that particular project would be,
simultaneous?
it'd be the same time, that'd be part of the same project. These other four projects, with, Kendrick to Murray, 10th Street, Davis Miller, and Miller Road, those would be projects. I don't believe that they're tied to any street projects.
Where these projects came about is, on sewer maintenance, going around, we keep track of where we have the most problems maintaining sewers, and then we put it on a program of the most problematic areas. These ones arise a lot, so these are the ones that we try to shoot for. Now, if they're run in tandem with a water distribution project, we'd like that even better. So if we're gonna be down there, we might as well replace the water line and sewer. Have be separated between department, water department, just to work. But if we can do them in tandem, we're absolutely gonna do that. I don't wanna dig up the road and just replace one. If we have a problematic water line on it, I say you're gonna combine the two and actually do that as one whole project.
Well, it's just like that one street that runs in front of us and that we did, and then at the end of it, the sewer was 1,000 years old and that was forgotten.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. I think, not very many years ago, there were 7 streets that got overlaid, and, oh man, they look beautiful, and for a month. And then they dug every damn one of them up, and did project number 2. It's like, you put the putty on and sand it off before you paint the car.
Yeah, and on all of our 6 penny projects from here on out, they call for infrastructure. It's all water, sewer, storm drain. We do it all and build from bottom up.
Just so that's being looked at,
Yeah.
because there's nothing more frustrating
I
than
think
seeing the
everybody
street
knows.
get dug up.
And then some of these lines ain't that old. There's, between Davis and Miller, runs it and out. As these lines settle, or flat, the flow isn't going here.
There's a lot of
I
factors.
know we have problems, I get a lot of calls from the residents in there. I think that flow goes all the way. Apartments in that area.
Field house?
Yeah. Falls there, and problem with our sewer. Actually took a man away.
Yeah, and that's a rising problem the city always has. We have a maintenance program where we clean the sewers, and sometimes when they back up, it's from what people are putting down it. So, we have residents now that are upset about their homes getting kind of damaged because the sewer backs up, and they wanna get mad at us. It's what the neighbors are putting, probably up the sewer main. And some of the times, it's the ground. The ground
Seems
shit.
to be all those
crack it,
houses in
yeah.
that, all those houses in that area. just moved. Family before them had gotten home. Times in years.
Decades.
They settled in their, oh. But it's just basic. I was just wondering
Yeah.
if that was the problem. Got it.
I have a quick question for Sean on the water. I just don't know this, how this works. On trailer courts, does the owner pay the, not the hookup fee, but that monthly, use fee? When you were talking about raising for the $5.
It is by the owner, so would have that, if they have a meter to their house, or whatever, they're gonna get, some cases, this is owned by a company, and so they would get the charge for all of those, and then we would collect it from one person and all there.
So it gets distributed out. So if,
Yeah.
let's say you got the main hookup, and then they have 20 trailers in there. Per trailer or per lot?
Yeah, each of those would have a charge.
They don't have a meter. It's per unit on the property.
Yeah, it'd be per.
For the trash and the water and, recycling and all that.
First page on community development. Very first page is the capital. The, just met the rec center, found out this year. Leaks. Copy. And the, I remember coming. Yeah. Like to get that, due to the fact that we have put new carpet in that area, it's really nice, it's tightened it up quite a bit.
Is it gonna be a metal roof?
Membrane. I have a membrane up there now, and it looks like they coated it with some kind of a snow seal, which all it did was bubble up, and it just, so I think that's where a lot of our issues are coming from. Then our other project for our department is pillars that the police do. Basically functioning on one now. These boilers aren't that old, I think 4 or 5 years old. And what we'd like to do is the maintenance program where we can, once every 6 months, check these, if not sooner, make sure everything's functioning right. That's what we're running into with a lot of our issues is there's no type of service conducted. Some went out, we just that part and didn't do anything else. So we're trying to implement that program to where we check it 5 months. That's what we're not trying to replace it all at once. And this would save a lot of money on the city side, have these serviced adequately. In our shop, we have a lift that the truck on it, it starts coming down by itself.
Oh.
So we did buy some stands to support the vehicles on both ends. That there was a major concern for us as well to get that replaced.
The shoplift is this, what tonnage? What's it gonna lift?
right now, we're just trying to pick up. So, how big do you think that is, Cody, back there? So, 10,000 pounders, so with the plans that we do have, very fixed, so we would really like to get that replaced.
I just think the price is way high for a 10,000 pounder, even a 1,000 pound lift.
Just wondering, was it it sounded like you were, and you have multiple.
I think that's about twice what you need to pay. I have shopped them, on my history, I mean, I've owned a phone. At least two.
Also, in our budget, we'd like to see RTU for the police rooftop unit.
That's an air conditioner, I mean,
Yes, sir, one of the big units on top.
okay.
Our MSW building, we have, Up in the wind. Sides, put any plywood that they can find.
That's the west side.
Oh,
My parents, their shop, or their shop.
but I did look into this, and
Okay.
one of our locals, one half of the west side, half of the,
Oh, it did.
that's what that dollar amount come out to.
Just to replace the red iron in the skin.
And, on this one here, we're also asking for the HVAC, right now with our current contract that we have, we're paying roughly $6 per quarter. Other visit that these guys come and do cost us $1,000 to $2,000 per visit. That's just to look over supplying the filters, we're supplying the belts, basically supply everything, they just come. And that's why we were looking to possibly get a maintenance employee. They could do the basic, belts, change belts.
A quick comment on that. I will need to move that one to the last page on here with the other employees.
And the PC upgrades, for the digital controls. Right now, we have some that will be this would be a asset for the, same thing with the public works building. As well in our building in the wintertime, the air conditioner's going. That's work. Trying to get everything programmed to where office is on its own. That's where you can run one office. When Cody took over the office that I was in, time was perfect, wintertime was perfect. All he does is complain. It didn't work. It worked opposite when he moved in.
The Cats Bus rebranding, adding signage. So if Myra would like to speak on that, since she was involved with the initial.
Yeah, I know that we've been looking into making the Cats Bus more efficient and usable for the, they're all around for a couple of years, staff has been working on it. So when we set aside the money to do that, we also thought it'd be a nice time to upgrading the routes, making sure those are usable, rebranding, looking into what's, good for those stops, just a lot of comprehensive stuff. And I did talk to Austin, and Luke, Sean, Austin, and I came up with, an estimate. Get a really good transportation. Accurate, gentlemen?
Police department basement remodel. A little bit more presentable. Last item on the community development side is the painting the exterior of the golf course.
Or maybe you just,
Under loop.
The next item is gonna be the landfill. On our landfill equipment, run into an issue. And we were looking at possible lease option with $5. And then I'll let Pat speak on this part. Have one representative come down to see what it would be for our equipment. We prefer running and died on. So that wasn't the first good impression for that piece of equipment.
but he doesn't work.
But it gets better. We had the option, like I said, of one-time payment per year. I'll let him, fill you in on what happened to the scraper. And we'll move from there.
Okay. The cat, I call them the cat guy, so, the cat guy came down to look at our scraper. Took it for a ride, and he went down to the bottom where the tires and metal are at, and it died out on him. So right there, he took some oil samples, and he found out that our engine oil was mixing with our transmission oil because of the, oil coolers going out. And there's a computer module on the side, kind of like a car computer. It tells the machine, you're trying to tell the machine, so it relays back to the back engine, what the front engine's doing. Not on the back engine what to do. Are you going like first, second, and third? The machine doesn't know what's going on. Really doesn't know what's going on. So then the computer reverts back to what it last knows that you told it. So if you were backing out of the shop per se, you went reverse, and then you went forward in second, and it lost its memory per se in like third, fourth gear, and revert back Well, an engine's that big, going probably here, and you're slamming that into reverse, the operator's probably not gonna survive that, because we do operate our scrapers on public roads, because we just go through the whole place. If for some reason that scraper uses what it's doing, the floor brakes will not hold that machine. If you're in first or second, it will roll right through those floor brakes. Where customers come in. So Cat told us to go ahead and park the machine on the side till we figure out what we're gonna do. He deemed it pretty
Mayor,
operator.
Yes, Linda?
my question would be to, on these large pieces of equipment, is to see if we can find some leases, like a 3-year lease on each one of them to spread it out over a few years so we don't take a big hit on the landfill fund. Just throwing that out there.
That's what I'm getting into next. I did talk to Cat on our scraper and our compactor, because you remember last year we were talking about our compactor, because we're spending a huge amount of money on this compactor that's not working. I talked to him about both equipment, got a nice lease from them, because they do need to move some products, and they're like everybody else, they're just kind of, if I can give you. Lease. Good look. You guys look about middle down the way, it says amount finance. That scraper comes in at $980,400, a big sticker price. But they're do a 7-year lease on this piece of equipment. Usually when you take possession of the keys, when it's ready to dig, when it's here, that's when your first payment's due. Every payment annually would be $152,760. But since you're wanting to trade off scraper for the scraper, the compactor for the compactor, first payment, we do take possession of this new piece of equipment, would be first payment. So this old scraper that doesn't work, that would be our first payment for this new equipment. There'd be no out-of-pocket until 2023. We took possession, well, that's the other one too, is there's one coming out of production, this month. If we hurry up and grab this one that's coming out this month, we can save $60,000. If the price of the next one coming out, just metal, freight, all that stuff's gonna go up, it's gonna be at least $60,000 more. Coming out this month, they can fit all of our stuff on there, like our greasers and stuff, taken by possession of this piece of equipment in May. Our old scraper would be the first annual payment. We wouldn't actually have an out-of-pocket expense until May of 20. And since it's a governmental lease, 7 years, it's a bumper to bumper. Anything that goes wrong with this piece of equipment, they have to come and fix. Something catastrophic happens, like their motor goes out or something like that, they assured us that they would come and pick it up. These two pieces of equipment, the scraper and the compactor, they're the most costly breakdowns that you can have. bumper to bumper for just these, probably pay for itself annually. That's the scraper. We have one for the compactor. This one's basically the same way as the scraper. The price on this one is, well, which is really good, because we were looking at equipment last year. We were in the range of $800,000 for a compactor. That said, model right here is an A16, it's a little bit bigger than the one we have now, so it's better. With a sticker price of $567,952. Same goes for this one. First payment is our old machine. Costs us a lot whenever we run. Definitely want to trade it off. And after that is 6 annual payments of $88,933.
This thing here says payment structure, first annual of 40,000, and the other one had 31,000.
Yes, that's the price of our old, that's what they're gonna give us.
Okay, that's the trade-in value, which is equal to the.
These are your governmental leases, so there's always a way out. Never any entrapment for 7 years. So say if the next council comes, they don't like this lease, they can buy it out, or they could walk away. Walking away is like that because we don't have any equipment, because they're coming down. But you do have an option of, and with the governmental lease, do not have to go out for bid.
I like this way, it works better.
Our scraper is a 1987.
Yeah. After I was born.
Right.
Private.
Definitely old.
Well, these cat leases are, pretty good, because then somewhere in the middle, let's say towards, the end of the 7th year or whatever, we wanna trade them in, then, cats do hold a really good value, and they have kind of a guaranteed trade-in. I don't know how that all works, but it's in pretty new equipment, cheaper than.
It's based on
Once we
hours
get going.
per year, and we're well below the hours per year that they want. So at the end of the 7 years, you can, buy out and keep the machine, or you can roll over.
And start a new lease, yeah.
And then the scraper that's parked on the side right now, I did talk to Kat about kind of how much it would cost to fix. We would have to yank the motors out of there, the engines, I mean. We'd have to, it would be a whole new machine. I mean, the price that we would pay to repair this scraper, we could have bought half of this. And the actual, well, the actual, whatever they have to replace, and by the time it comes back from Casper or Rock Springs or wherever it goes, it would literally have a new serial number, that's how.
On the contractor, you made a comment, you said, it's when you run it, is it not run all the time?
It's a BOMEG, so every time we run it, it comes back with more issues. Not just one issue, like leaks all the time from different places, and it's just the product.
What's the longest downtime you've had on?
Probably last one we had, almost every single fitting, hydraulic fitting on that. We were losing 500 gallons and, they had to come in once or twice, well, twice to three times to come in and actually tighten everything up, replace it. That lasted probably 4 months.
It was not operational for 1 month. So if we, what do you guys do? If the compactor's down, what are you doing in place to
Well,
load the trailers?
the dozer pushes everything, and it can crush too, but it won't crush as good as a compactor. Want to really save your landfill, you gotta use compactors, but if you're down for 3-4 months, you've gotta do what you have to do with the.
But this trash is just falling out anyway, right?
It has nothing to do with the trash, it's.
Had, mechanics can, I tried getting underneath the belly pan and where the leaks are. I don't fit, so that's not the kind of space they have to get in to try and fix these.
I need a skinnier mechanic.
We haven't tried him yet.
You can tell Ken I said, okay.
We actually had an injury, because one of our mechanics went in there, to get out, and by the time he got out, he pulled.
In here just for, when, assuming that we go ahead and pay off the loans, that we have the last remaining loan in this fund, and if you look at expenses over the revenue, we would be positive $230,000. Would be together $241,000. If, what? And what I could do is I could lower our contingent, and we can break even. But it doesn't leave a whole lot of wiggle room, but we can, I guess, that would be an answer to you, guys if the council's okay with that. I mean, I guess we can't decide yet, but except for the one, you one faster.
Tripper, we really need to move on it if we want to save money. Like I said, it's coming out this month. If it's in task, it's gonna be next. That'll move it up to 1.14 million.
From my sense, I would feel comfortable with these two leases. But the budget could be, please get started on, get the cost savings.
Do we have to?
We'll have to have our. I wouldn't hear a budget.
And like the compactor, it's, pretty hard to get a hold of one of these, but we would be in line to get. So as soon as we can get one coming with a compactor, but we do have a working now. In January of 2023. Don't actually start leasing until we get the key. So we would take the old compactor for the first payment. So with that, we won't have any out-of-pocket expenses till January of 2024.
Be crazy not to buy them.
Yeah.
Or lease them.
Them being on the fence, broken down, can't do nothing with them now, and it's supposed to be working engines. We don't start digging and we don't start covering, we will start being in violation of our permit, violation of DEQ, no more cover.
clarified for Lynn's sake for the agenda item, we would do all of this work and then we would put it on the agenda for like the 19th to do a motion for this, because it, right, it has to be approved by council.
As long as legal can catch up by that time.
If they can do it by then.
Caterpillar will have to generate the lease. We need to look at. They're very quick. Caterpillar, they do, I bet 90% of what they sell is.
We could do that.
every 7 years.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
What's that?
Right,
So, so you
What are
would
you
have
talking
to
about?
work together on
I have a brand new.
Or that can wait.
Works perfectly, I just overhauled it.
We'll have to make a call tomorrow and get that document so we can get it up.
So you guys would every day, ready to roll on the 20th
I
after the
could,
meeting,
it's that
the
there.
next day.
No, I went through it, it's brand new. Got new sleeves,
Oh, yeah, so we're
pistons,
just gonna
new
get
cylinders,
that
had to have redone, new radiator, new,
And then, okay, so we'll work all four that out, get the weeks done. Yeah, and then we can do that, so we, trying to keep that. So I sent it.
On our next item, we
When you
have
get into
the,
that stuff, let me know.
but if we can get these other pieces of equipment by legal, they loader out at the recycle center. One we have out at the landfill, we could just swap them out. We can put that one, that one from now on the budget. So, yeah. On council. Found out about our, move some numbers around.
When the scripper did what it did, kind of jumped the line.
And then, our last item is the scale building, replace what we have there. And now we have city week, they'll hold up traffic. I'd like to get some modifications done on that. That's what our goal is on that one. But as it sits right now, we'll go out on a limb and see if we do get this equipment, then we could put that one as well on process at the scale. Takes care of our landfill. Now we got the recycle center. We had asked for a pro baler at HE60. Make scales for a new building that, so, I know that one there, we can probably really would hate to down the section on the recycle. But without our building, really can't use that pro baler HE. I'd like to hold off on that one. We're also looking at, start swapping out our balers inside the recycle center now. That one is completely down. We can get on a maintenance program as that as well to replace one every year instead of waiting until they break. That's what the thought process on that was.
Doesn't seem to me like those are all very old, but, because I bought the old one. Oh. But, yeah, it was a long time ago. I don't know, how old are those balers? Do you know?
The ones that we have, one that's down now is a fairly new one, and we've got an electrician down there to
on the boards to get them to function right, and that's been down ever since. I don't know whether it's in the switchboard, and a lot of money trying to get that one.
It is, and it's a cardboard or aluminum or what?
Well, we can use it on our plastics or aluminum,
But it's the big 500-pound bale or 600-pound bale one, or,
250, I think is what they.
so it's one of the smaller ones.
One of the smaller Harmony,
What's that?
the Harmony baler.
Yeah.
That one.
Okay. There's like 6 of them or 5 or so that are the same.
I think we
They're
have
all yellow.
6, yes.
Item number 3 is the new electrical service, wiring for the new building. I'm gonna have to the concrete for the Baylor location in the new building. Really don't know any of that information until our new building up. But, really, the only item that we would be asking for on the equipment side would be the small baler. And wall for the new building, there again, without the building, we can't. Any concrete in there.
The retaining wall for the new Baylor building, what,
That is we wanna put a stub wall up on the inside of the building, so rather than hitting the post or there would be a stub wall up of concrete. Let them know you're getting too close to the top,
okay.
and the bucket out the side of it. Employee, I think, next request for installation for the new recycle building, that one there again, it's one of them, if we don't have the building. No, we only received one bid.
Is it gonna be steel with red iron, or is it gonna be a pole barn?
It's gonna be a pole barn. That was all my 7 items on the recycle center of it.
Real quick on the recycle center. So I know, I touched on this a little bit, but I wanna touch on it one more. So the expenditures over the revenues, as it sits right now, is negative $222,000. I see part of that hole is $100,000 contingency. And then I just talking to Stephanie, I think that the employee benefits, I think there's an issue that probably will bring back another $60,000 there. And then we also have, the recycle position already funded in there, so we can pull it out. And between all that, I think we'll bounce. We're okay, but, I'm not sure as far as if we're gonna be able to do any. I'm just, this one might be one, and Dan is I think we need to look at raising rates. So we can.
For the recycling. So, when you say that, it's like that $3 charge on our water bill?
Yeah, except the saving grace right now, that we're starting to get a lot more income here. So like what I just said, I think that if we can continue to get that revenue, which I anticipate that we will, maybe we won't. I'm quite hopeful of that, actually.
So they told us that.
Yeah, when first started, they were kinda shipping out these trailers that were halfway full, or they were just a lot of mix. They were shipping out cardboard for $50 a ton. I came in, started looking at everything. There's so much different ways you can do this and make it better, you know. Every year I was looking at the past with Marty's role, when Marty had it. They were losing probably $700-800 per truck, every single truck they had. Now we kind of flipped it around, we started making profit there. The way we load our trailers, they were sending out maybe 10,000 pounds worth of product in there. Now we got it up to probably almost 40,000 pounds. We stopped sending middleman cardboard and started shipping direct for cardboard on flatbed trailers, just cardboard. We're making probably, in the summertime, anywhere from $15,000 to $2,000 a trailer. In the winter time, you know, all that stuff goes down. Right now, we're making probably $1,000 a trailer. Aluminum is a really good product. We baled that as much as we could, and we saved it as much as we could, just to see what would happen if we sent, you know, half a trailer of aluminum and the rest of it like a mixed trailer. We got in about half of aluminum, and then the rest was mixed. We sent it out just to see what would happen. That trailer was worth, they already gave us a check, they give us everything that we needed, like the proof and line items, well, you know, what everything was worth. It was a $11,000 trailer. One trailer that regularly would have lost us $700. Every trailer that I've been putting in there has been in plus. I have not lost any money on any trailer since I took over. So that's looking good. Once we get this building put up, and if we can get the baler, we can start baling ton bales instead of a couple 100-pound bales, and then direct porting most of our stuff, making 3-4 times more per ton than we are now. It's revenue like greatly.
So, when you say you send the, cardboard directly, do you send it to, Washington or Oregon or what?
We send it to wherever pays the most. That's where we have contracts with different, recyclers, is they have,
Where are some of these places?
they have brokers, and then they find the trailers on I-80 that's empty, headed wherever. Like you said, Oregon's one of them, Washington's the other one, West Coast is one of them. Whoever's paying more, we just find an empty flatbed that's coming through here, they stop by, we load them, they go that way. Aluminum really is good, but right now we're making those bales out of the little Harmony balers because kind of ones can't get enough, they're not full cycles, so they can't compress it good enough to stay. But if we got that big baler that we're talking about, putting in that new building, horizontal, I mean, it's a vertical, and it's a full cycle baler. So that thing would make,
But we'll go to 60,000 pounds of crush,
oh,
because that's what it takes to do aluminum.
I can just do one whole trailer of just aluminum. That trailer would probably be worth $30,000.
Like a future, like the way it's going now. I'll temporarily pull out of the budget full time. To get this revenue in here. I really think that we're gonna.
It's really exciting, actually, 'cause start playing with everything and everything starts, I mean, it's kind of cool.
Oh, yeah, so let's go position. So I guess one position that Lou, you've got here is the planner. there anything that you would want to say about that?
I think with the position on the planner, it would benefit our department as well as even Cody and Austin, whether it's meetings, doing research. Asset for us to possibly get the plan. Whether to have our meetings, like, at 8 o'clock, and by the time you're done with meetings and trying to get the paperwork done, it's already 5 or 5:30. This position not immensely with our office staff as well.
So, just, I just wanna say thank you. Really good job putting priority on everything and putting it all together, and so I'm really impressed with them. Thank you all, and, a second on this last page of the capital, we have, I threw in the 610 in here, and I just wanted to talk about that just for a second. I've been asking Deb to help me out with our cash balance on the 610, and she's been so pumped. What she needs to do is move our, like, all the costs from the Walnut, and then, put that into the 610, so I can know what the true balance is right now. But anyways, I'll find out that number, but right now, we have the priorities that you can see there, 1 through 10. Does the council have any thoughts on that priority list? How it stands right now?
6 penny?
Yeah.
Washington. Just a couple of things that we have, because in the asphalt, hauling asphalt way out, they use that as weight of their trucks. Remove that.
Mayor?
Just a minute, Linda.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Smith?
Yeah, I'm reviewing the 6 penny positions. And it definitely is not the way we put them out there on the voters list, but we have the ability to change their position. But I'm bothered by the fact that Edinburgh has dropped to number 4. I thought that project on the streets was coming up this year, and therefore that should remain at least 1 or 2 on the list. And we did want the water line in the cemetery. I think that's important, but I don't think the engineering's done for that. So I'd like to see Edinburgh put back on top of the list, because I think you're gonna be working on it this year.
I was gonna second.
I just wanna make one quick comment. The right of ways that we have the low maintenance landscaping, kinda like if 1 year we feel like we can do funding for one total project and we had an extra 100,000 sitting there, do some of that and then move on to the next project. Even though it shows 2, it might not be too tall. It just depends, does that make sense what I'm saying?
Leftover.
Yeah, it's kind of leftover if we have
Well, I
some
think-
here and there,
I
and
think
then,
that Edinburgh is one of the streets that I got a lot of calls on. That was, I thought was way up there, when
It's from
we talked about it.
Well,
I think
and
it should be.
in Edinburgh, there's several businesses there, there's several state offices there. But the city did go and fix a lot of it, and that, it was much appreciated. Band-Aid on a gunshot.
It just requires a whole remake because of the water saturation on that street. And it doesn't matter what you put on the top of that. Every spring it starts to heave again. And so that's why I'm a little bit bothered by the fact that it's lower on the list. I wasn't aware that we were going to use money for the city rights of way landscaping so soon either.
Linda, on that one, it's just, if we have a little extra left over, let's say we do the raw water line for the cemetery, and if that came, you know, if that was $1 million, and then we had $1,100,000 sitting in our bank, then maybe we can just use a little bit here and there for that. It's not meant to be in front of any project necessarily at all, if that makes sense.
A little bit, thank you.
It is a $6 project, it's just a filler, because it's not as important as, Austin, will you take us through your thoughts on these, please?
Yeah, if I may, at the council's pleasure, may I go through this and walk us through the 6-penny program? I do apologize for not doing this sooner, I was up here prior, but I think this is a good opportunity. So, in the 6-penny program, we've identified a total of 10 projects here, where it's prioritized on the basis of what we thought was need and the direction we'd already been heading. So that we had gone out for RFP for your water line back in December, and WWC was the apparent winner of the bid process for proposals. So with that, that project for 23, the $1,067,389 would go toward the infrastructure for installing a new secondary or raw water line from essentially the golf course into town. Where we would be able to use just raw, untreated water to take care of the cemetery's grass. Project incorporates so many different cool facets when you look at it. We have an opportunity here where we could plan ahead, plan for a larger line and larger fittings, tees, for expansion for the VFW fields, for the rec ball fields, so many green spaces where we can be providing raw water rather than treated water to these spaces and really save the city's water in a way that allows us to have green spaces and provide drinking water for the public. So that's the reason why that project has been prioritized as the highest.
The number 2, I think I'll just move that down to the bottom, and then if we have some money, then I'll come to council. To reflect it really is not as high as a lot of these other things.
If we move 2 to the bottom and move 4 to the second position, I would fix it. Is that what you're saying, Linda?
Well, put Edinburgh back up on high priority, number 1, but number 2, I didn't know that the bypass was a 6-penny project. I didn't know if that was voted on, but in that 6-penny process, I'd like that checked on, because if it wasn't voted on, we can't use 6-penny money for it. But yeah, Mayor, I would be happy if you got Edinburgh back up in the number 1 or 2 spot. The raw water is important because of our latest problems with water. But we've got to keep Edinburgh up there because they're going to be working on that pretty soon anyway.
Okay, sounds good. Let me walk through just like a basic scope of each project, and then we can go back to prioritization per your pleasure, if that's okay. So, looking at it then, the next item would be the pedestrian bypass from Aberdeen Street to Harshman Street. It is a 6-penny item, and it came at a surprise to me as well when I went through and found it, because we just selected under the Urban Systems Committee, have the Urban Systems Committee fund the same project. So there is a total amount that 10% by the city to match the funding for the project. But based on what I am seeing, engineering costs, not engineering, but construction costs are skyrocketing right now. So we may have to keep this $800,000 in 6-penny funding in conjunction with what we're gonna receive from the state for this project as a match to be able to complete it. Right now, they're saying $600,000 for construction of an underpass under a arterial collector, highway, and my experience, that is not gonna be enough money to cover that project, so it's worth looking at. And the next item would be Edinburgh Street replacement from Dunfeld to Murray, including water, sewer, and storm sewer. So as the city engineer just coming in, I'm a new guy, but with fresh eyes, if you think about the project and you look at the overall scope, right now, we're planning to pay for a new road, utilities, private property, half of the project for someone else's development, and it's not even property. Edinburgh was evaluated and designed, it would pave the entire section down to Murray. Don't have any right-of-way through there, and it has switched hands to a new company, but now to Saddleback Properties. We do not have an agreement, but if they want us to pave their property, it's my suggestion, they pay for all the asphalt and the construction on the section road that they would deed to us. But looking at the engineering costs, I spoke with WWC, it's a $1 million project to where it's now over $4.5 million for the construction costs.
So this Edinburgh project doesn't stop at, well, we can't be paving on private property. We just can't do it.
And I don't sell chemicals either.
Yeah. Well, I said watermelon, but cantaloupes are not even close as good. But, I mean, that's just a no-brainer. We can't do that.
So with that, I think we can reduce the scope of that project where we still use that utility easement for the improvements for the utilities down to Murray, so that we can capture all of that water that's under Edinburgh Street, put it down to storm sewer, all the way down to Murray. It's the best way to make it work. The way we've done it in the past is we sent it out to 287, and it just did not, the lines didn't work, we couldn't get it to drain properly. There was an agreement there from the 90s, what happened to that line. But with the current proposal, we would go all the way down to Murray with those utilities, stop the new pavement essentially where we have, no right of way. So I wanted
So
to,
like that trailer park would.
Remain at a mud hole.
Yeah.
But that is an example of why you make developers their sidewalk. I mean, that's an example, but do we have the legal right to send these utilities down that street that doesn't belong to us,
we have a utility easement already,
all the way down that street?
all the way to Murray.
I don't know, for clarification, but I believe this is about where our Is that correct? There's in this apartment.
I believe it's further to the
Further,
south,
yeah.
where it makes a sharp turn.
It is, okay.
Further down,
Oh, it's all-
Where you could actually see how bumpy and crappy,
right there.
right there.
It's paved to there though.
Yeah, it's paved to that.
And right there is where it turns to dirt,
That section.
there down to come and go or whatever.
By removing that section, it would reduce our costs. Delay the project though, if we can.
That's correct, yeah. So originally, I was thinking that the direction of the council was that we would pave that road, and then we'd have to go through a right-of-way process, that property, but then after I've seen with recent developments, I figured it'd be worth coming back and revisiting this. So, and unfortunately, the engineer, I'm not trying to get too much into the weeds, but the engineer ate $30,000 worth of costs at the direction of city staff. And to get us to a point where we remove that pavement section, that's probably another $30,000, so if we could reimburse WWC the $30,000 and pay them another $30,000 on a task order, that may get us project as soon as possible.
Say that again. So we're not gonna get the cement, so we're gonna have to pay them money to not get cement or blacktop. You lost me there.
Oh, okay. So the current design done by an engineer whose background did not include roadway. 4 inches of asphalt on this road that's had serious issues. Mine is only a 4-inch thick asphalt, whereas normally you would go at a very minimum, absolute minimum, 5 inches. So there was no geotechnical engineering performed on the project, it was a best guess. And so the additional $30,000 would have to be cover the engineering, the technical engineering, the pavement design for this, so we can actually solve the problem and do it right. I'm afraid, based on my experience as a highway engineer, the road, as soon as we're done paving it within beyond that, city staff gave direction to the consultant to overrun their design costs based on internal discussions, and I don't even know the whole history, but they overran their costs $30,000 in order to keep a good relationship with the city. Documented records. This
I was
is,
just gonna say.
this goes back.
Rerouting these utilities is gonna be a
Yeah, I think that if we route these utilities, stormwater, the sewer, down to Murray through this east, we'll have a complete project. But if we try to use existing right-of-way that we have and route it through Inverness to 287, we're gonna come up against some real problems with grades, to be able to actually solve the problem. On Murray, we can capture all those problems and tie in at Murray's. So I just wanted to point these things out to you. I know this is probably the first time you've heard of it.
So that bumpy road, you would be required to just, once you've dug it all up, you make it the
Same condition it was.
It's actually hard to put all them bumps in. A lot easier to make them smooth.
So, I want to make you aware of that project. And then the next project would be the Washington Street replacement, Davis to Colorado. So at this time, we don't have engineering complete project. So the $403,000 is budgeted for 2020.
In airport, road rebuild, it's the same story, that $130,000 out there forecast for 2025 would be for design project costs. Have Parchman Street sidewalk, at 2026, designed for 50,000, construction. Locate sanitary sewer line and storm drain at the Alton Lane area, line of 160,000 for construction costs of 166,000. $1,667,620. And effectively, we have priority where we have placement as complete. I'm going to give you a big picture, and if you have anything that you'd like to contribute to a prioritization beyond what I've already presented.
Thank you for identifying the Edinburgh issues.
I think just changing those, you know, moving number 2 down and moving 4 up to number 2 satisfy me.
Come up. Over somewhere. We're
5 would then become 4, yeah. 4, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is that is extra money that
Don't forget, at one time, we authorized loans from the general fund if we needed to fix something sooner.
Because we did not bond.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too, and maybe,
that's right.
in the next few months, when we get just a little better picture, maybe doing that.
If our collections don't come in time when we're close, and
That was what we were
yeah,
gonna
maybe
use,
bump it up faster by loading ourselves some money.
we're gonna use some general speed up some of these projects.
I don't get too carried away and we start making. But the inflation doing what it's doing, all of that, our advantage, I do believe that once the inflation hits the top, I don't know, maybe I'll still be alive, but, that's what will happen. Bankrupt a lot of things. We should go the opposite direction. Whether that cycle takes place in 5 years or, but I've seen it 3 times. I'm old. Wise.
So
Children.
to conclude, so our next meeting is on Tuesday. And please,
Thursday,
it's next Thursday.
Thursday the 14th.
But it's,
Thank you, that gives me more time.
The 13th.
It's the 14th.
Next Thursday is our next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5:30.
Okay,
So,
so, I wanna propose something, and please let me know if this is okay with you, or if you want me to do something different, but what I would like, what I'd like to do is incorporate the changes that we've been talking about as we've been going along in the budget. I'll just make all the changes in the capital, and I can create a new list. And I would like to basically, for one, if you want me to, I'll make a recommendation from my standpoint on the position. I can make a recommendation on some of these capitals, visiting with everyone, on some things we need to do right away, and then in a few months we can do the full readdressing the capital. And then I can I'll make sure that on each of these budgets that they're balanced, and then just give you the new papers to look at with essentially my recommendation next Thursday. That sound good to everyone? And then it makes it a little bit easier probably to whittle down from there if we wanna make any other, how's that sound?
Carl already, and I got one.
Mayor,
Mayor, Linda would like to speak.
Oh. Councilman Smith?
anyway, I erase that, okay? My question is this, I'm sorry. To the pay scales. Things on the pay scale that we have not adopted those pay scales. We have not adopted some of those positions on there, and I think there should be a healthy discussion about some of them. So I want to, I committed to Sean that I felt that any of the positions under $30,000 really should be moved up if they're full time to at least, I think it was almost $32,000. Because industries and cold weather and stuff are making the lowest money, and I feel like that's not fair sometimes. So I wanted to take a look at those. Yes, yeah.
We're having a hard time hearing you. The audio is kind of weird.
I'm weird right now because I can barely talk.
Maybe we could call her back.
Bottom line, when you look at the pay scales, we haven't adopted them yet, and I'm not willing to just leave it as it is.
Well,
Like, we can't use that.
I think what she's trying to say is that beyond your recommendations, probably we need to go through some of this stuff line by line ourselves. Is that what you're trying to say, Councilman Smith?
Scale that were presented to us is not, that it's part of the budget, but we were just given Stephanie's work. And pay scales and employee positions. We haven't done that.
I think she's trying to put across the point, there are things we haven't discussed.
Hey, Linda, your mic was cutting out, so we couldn't hear anything.
Sorry, it's been horrible, right? Okay, what I was trying to say is that the pay scale
there are things involved in that we need to discuss, because I agree with her, some of that's not right.
Not tonight, though, please.
No. Well, we don't even have that in front of us, and,
I do, to my door.
So I guess then by next Thursday, we can have the salary study as a good conversation that we can dig into. And I'll be ready to present everything. Mostly I wanna turn it back over to the council at some point, you know, we've tried to get it all there so that you can. But anything else that we wanna touch on? Oh, I actually have a few follow-up things that I've been making notes here, like, I think we need to revisit the nonprofit. Are we gonna fund it exactly as they presented it? I just have a few things so we wouldn't forget that we can address on that next. Is there anything else that we wanna accomplish at that next Thursday meeting?
Been talking about work session, or would it be
Part of that next Thursday meeting?
don't look at me.
You're in charge.
I'm the quietest guy here today. Is there anything else before we go home?
So, we haven't, the 19th is our your regular scheduled meeting. We don't have any work sessions scheduled. Use that as an overflow. We need to, I don't know how the council feels, we could come in at 5 maybe, or something, Monday.
Coming in at five's a problem for some of us.
I understand that, and I do realize that, and I'm sorry.
Let's see where you are about this today.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just,
And that'll be an option if we needed more.
Linda can hear all of this.
Yeah.
I just sent her.
All right. We good? Okay, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
The meeting's at 5:30 on the 14th, and dinner will be provided. 5:30, and the dinner will be provided.